All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of the Shadow Collective podcast. I'm Darth Eldor, and as always, here with my good friends Swampgrass and Andy Beads. How's everybody doing today? Oh, sorry to hear that. Oh, we'll be here with you the whole way. If you have any issues, definitely let us know. We'll try to work through them. Okay. That being said, let's get into let's get into the news. We've got a few things. It seems like it's been a the last couple days have been a pretty active. But I do want to start on a sad note. Unfortunately, a couple days after our last podcast, unfortunately, we had to hear about the death of Ray Stevenson, who was going to be a big part of the new Ahsoka show. Um, that was it's a shame to hear it because I I'm excited to see what he's gonna do in the show and whether or not he was going to be on for more than one season and unfortunately what they're going to do now considering. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, far too young. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just not. Go ahead. Yeah, I remember her character name is Shinhati, but I don't remember. I can't remember her actual name at the moment. Yeah. Um. From that, I guess we'll move on. obviously, my condolences go out to him, his family, and friends, and those that were close to him. Um, uh, the next story that we come up with is they finally gave us episode count for the Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and as no big surprise, it's going to be an 8 episode season. Um, just looking here to see if there's any details that they might have given about episode lengths. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, but 8 episodes, not really overly surprised by that. That's usually what they do with most of their shows. I think Book of Boba Fett was the only one that was really different when it got 12 episodes, I believe. No, my mistake. Andor got 12 episodes. I'm so right. I mean, I think 8 episodes could be good. I think what it is there's a lot of filler in there, and that's the part that worries me so much is that you have short seasons, but you still find room to add filler. It's like if you were stretching out to 12 episodes, I could see an episode or two of filler. If you stretch it out to like the average, which I mean, regular TV series, what 20 to 25 episodes. I understand filler and stuff like that, but when you condense it down to 8 episodes, I kind of want my story. So I get it, but yeah, yeah, and I would as well because, like I said, I mean, you drop it to eight episodes, 40 minutes per episode. How are you managing to give me 3 episodes of filler in a season? Yeah, so it's like I hate to beat the dead horse on that one, but I gotta ask the question sometimes. I mean, if you tell me somewhere 2 seasons down the line that it's gonna show where it made a difference, okay, maybe I'll follow, maybe I'll understand, but none of them have gotten there yet. So I mean, I was if I'm yeah, I was gonna say I thought that was the episode, but yeah, I mean, I mean, like I said, I don't. It doesn't necessarily have to be action, action, action every episode. I just push the story. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, even it, I mean, because there are definitely episodes where there's no action, but enough of the story element is going through that at least I see progression in what's happening, and that's all I ask for. Just let me know, let me see where things are happening. Yeah, and there was barely any action in yeah, I mean you're building story. If there was filler there, it was a quarter of the episode, and somehow it still pushed the story in the end. So it just, I think it's just a matter of being able to tell the story in such a way that it works. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, I had a cough there. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with side stories either. But my point is when you're condensing down the amount of episodes to 8 episodes, I want to see less of it. It's like I said, if Mandalorian seasons were 20 episodes long, I get it. I won't say a word. It's like even with what's it, Star Wars Rebels, there were definite filler episodes, but they also had, yeah, but exactly, there was what, at least 20 episodes per season. So no, Rebels. I mean, but once the story started to push, yeah, there were weeks where I was sitting there like, oh, come on, I want to see the story. I don't want to see this. But I understood more because it was a bigger season. If those Rebel seasons were 8, 9, 10 episodes, I'd be losing my mind with some of the stories that they told. So, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that was strange because I think that was supposed to be an 8 episode season. All right. Let's move on from this because I know I kind of extended that one a little bit more than I needed to. Okay. Next story. Um they were able to come out and tell us this week that the Knights of the Old Republic remake is still actually in active development. Um I know this is good news for a lot of people because they had come out with a trailer last summer, um, which I personally thought was one of the best Star Wars trailers I've ever seen. It was It was short, it was concise, it got the point across, and it was just a beautiful trailer for this Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. And I was excited for the game because even though it's kind of the same thing, we learned with Final Fantasy VII's remake, it's kind of the same game, but they did make some changes to it. I'm curious to see what kind of changes they're going to make to the Knights of the Old Republic game. I mean, I'm sure some people will love them, some people will hate them. But either way, it's a game I want to play. Um, what do you guys think? So I couldn't tell you how many hours I put into. I could probably press triple digits. Yeah. I um I have not played it. Um, I'm not gonna. I mean, how do I put this best? I am a huge fan of the game, but it was also one of the most sour notes in my life of gaming at the same time. I remember I played that game. I had it for my PlayStation. I I was so close to beating it. I had over 100 hours put into the game. It was all I had gone off to all the special quests and everything. And as I'm going to go do that, the memory card that I had shit the bed, and I lost all of it. And I was so angry. I said I will. I refuse to go through all of it again. So I never beat it. And that being said, I would play the remake. The one thing that you need to know though is the remake. I believe is only the first third of the game because they added so much to it. Yeah, they added so much to this game. It's only the first third of the game. I believe there's one coming out towards the end of this year, which I believe is either the second third or the rest of the game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how it is. I'd have to look into it. Um, but I have a feeling that's something that they could do here with the KOTOR games. I know Aspire was on this project. They were taken off of it for I don't know what reason. I believe the name of the company now that's on it is Embracer Group. Okay, yeah, they're part of Embracer Group. All right. But I don't know if that's their intention as well to like take part of this game and turn it into like a longer game with more detail, maybe more story involved. I don't know the full idea of it, but I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. I do remember at one point I was watching a guy on Twitch that had he unfortunately Lucasfilm sent him a cease and desist. He was actually in the process online remaking the whole game. He was doing it his own expenses. He had he had no intention of selling the game. He was going to just put it out there for free. Um, but he would come on for 6 to 8 hours a day and just rebuild the worlds around everything, rebuilt the characters. It looked absolutely gorgeous. What he had done with everything graphically, I was excited for what this guy was going to be able to do. They made him take it all down, and it's unfortunate. Um, I hope they brought this guy on and maybe gave him a job because he deserved it. um, okay. I mean, in a sense, the old KOTOR kind of played like the Final Fantasy VII setup. You would have your turn, and then the next person takes their turn, and you would set up what the next turn would be for your character, and you kind of would set up what your characters would do when their turn came up. Honestly, even for the Final Fantasy VII remake, they went away from that. It's still that basic idea, but it's kind of more. They kind of sped up the pace of it. Yeah, instead of just standing there back and forth, it looks more like you're really in the action. I don't if they come in with something like that, I don't have a problem with it. Even if it is a standard fighter, if it's fun to play, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, just make it fun for me. And I get that. I mean, there's just certain parts of the story you could probably change that I wouldn't care about. I mean, as long as the main story, as long as the main story is the same, um, they find a way to maybe you go in, you bring some more stuff in, we get more depth into some of the stories. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, they go on and it's a completely different story, and it makes no sense. Yeah, yeah, it's like okay, yeah, I get it, but I mean, I yeah, I have I have high hopes for this thing, so that's what I can truly say to that. Anybody else have any final things I want to say, or it is two different companies. Like I said, that's the Embracer Group making remaking this game. Ubisoft's the one actually working on the open world game. Which, speaking of which, that's something I didn't even put in our notes, but there was a story that came out this week, and thank you for mentioning it because I had forgot all about this one. But they were saying that well, over the past few months, they've actually been allowing people into their studios. I don't remember where their studios are. I want to say Finland or Denmark or somewhere like that. That if you're willing to sign the NDAs and everything, you could basically walk into their studio right now and sit down and play this game. The new open world, because they have the betas ready and they're playing them, and they're working off of it now. But part of the story that had come out, basically it said, I guess whatever's going on with their contract for Avatar or whatever's going on, this game wasn't slated to come out until maybe 2025, 2026. And they were saying this game, depending on how things play, this could actually end up being their next release midway through next year. It might be ready. It's like if you're that far ahead of the game and it's looking that good, I would do it. Because, like you said, people are clamoring for good Star Wars games. It's like, especially if it's good. And they're saying that they compare this most to No Man's Sky in the Star Wars universe, basically. Which I know when No Man's Sky first came out, it would talk about a game that got some bad press. I know they had issues on top of issues on top of issues, but I give that dev team credit. That's dev team that listened to the people and went through a couple of years of bad press to finally put out a game that everybody loves. So, I mean, if they stick with that, they actually put in the effort with listening to what's going on. If there's problems, they get on top of it right away. I think they've got a potential winner on their hands. They haven't dropped the trailer yet. You lose him too, Andy. Did you lose him there too? Hey, there you are. Yes. I I don't remember that. I know they dropped one for the High Republic game that we still haven't heard a lot about. Um they made an announcement, so we haven't gotten a trailer for it yet. But that being said, I mean, that'll just make me more excited for when that time comes. So, like I said, it's not changing my excitement level. I'm a little hyped for that one because if it's as good as I think it's going to be, I'm going to be playing a lot of that. So, um, but that being said, let's move on to the next story. We got word that well, sometime early in the last couple of weeks, we got word that Tamura Morrison would be coming back in the Ahsoka show as Captain Rex. And I think my first words were I would love to see that. Um, but apparently in that same time, Tamura came out himself and said, "Yeah, I'll be on there as Captain Rex." Um, so he confirmed it himself. So I'm actually excited for that. Um, I think I mean, the only thing that gets me a little bit would be, I think he might be. We, I'm wondering what we're going to get out of him though, because at this point in the game, he's old. I mean, I don't know if the accelerated cloning stops at a point or what, but if it didn't stop at a point, this should be a really old Captain Rex. I mean, are we gonna have a guy that can actually go out and run combat, do different things? Are we looking at a guy who maybe he's in a cabin somewhere and she just stops in to visit him before he dies? I don't want to go there, but unfortunately, we're talking about an old Captain Rex. um, yeah, yeah. I mean, so I just don't know if I see him in like every episode, like there and fighting all the way through. No, Ghost Made in the Republic. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Swamp. well, the end of Rebels went into, yeah. Yeah, I would say if you're going to put it in perspective, I mean, you would have to think that, yeah, and you got to figure at this point in the game, Luke Skywalker's probably pushing about 30. Ahsoka Tano might be pushing about 50. And then Rex, I mean, it depends on where the accelerated cloning goes. I mean, he could be accelerated up to 90 at this point. So, no problem. I mean, for me, it's like I said, I'm just looking at this as more of a. While I'm happy to see him, I think everybody just kind of needs to temper it a little bit. Don't expect to see this guy for the full season. It's probably just going to be like a one episode cameo. Um, because I know you're gonna get people that are gonna be like, "Well, why couldn't we get more Rex? The guy's old, man." Yeah, it's like he's doing all he can at 90 something years old. Let's see you hit 90 and try to be able to do all the stuff he was doing. I mean, yeah, that'd be kind of funny too. But I mean, and even if you look at that, I mean, that was 10 years before A New Hope. So now you're even pushing back what 20 years before that, and and if I remember correctly, Pablo Hidalgo, who's the head of the Lucasfilm Story Group, basically when it comes to people asking, "Is this canon?" He's usually the guy you go to. I remember, I want to say he confirmed that Rex was at Endor during Return of the Jedi, because yeah, the white beard and everything. Which I mean, which is funny because I mean, you get some old guy who just has a beard and he just thinks he's some weird extra, and now suddenly he's an actual character. Yeah, yeah. Here he was just rebel clone, uh, rebel soldier number 17. but but I mean, even then, my God, he's old. He can't have much left in the tank. So, oh yeah, that's the High Republic game, the one that we still haven't. They haven't said anything about that since that trailer either. Though, yeah, which is strange too because looking at the trailer, the story gate. Well, I mean, it didn't really tell a great deal, but at the same time, it showed me some. It showed me potential for deriving a good story out of what was there. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice, but um, I'm hoping we'll hear more about it soon. All right, so gonna move on to the next story here, and this is nothing confirmed, so I'm gonna say if you're listening to this, I would take this with a grain of salt because, um, yeah, while it's possible, it's not confirmed. Yes. But there is a rumor floating about that Mark Hamill and Hayden Christensen will be in the new Daisy Ridley Star Wars movie as Force Ghosts. It's reasonable. I could believe that it would be something that is possible. Especially Mark Hamill, because I mean, considering you go into the sequels, obviously it makes sense that he's somebody that he was already a Force Ghost to her in Rise of Skywalker. Why wouldn't he still be around to guide her as a Force Ghost 15 years later? Makes sense. Right. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that he learned that along the way. Um, Hayden Christensen, I mean, obviously, I could see it because, well, he's still around. He could still show up and do stuff for any reason. Um, oh, and he did special editions. Return of the Jedi. It's all good. It's all good. I mean, yeah, like I said, definitely possible. The only one I would be a little more weary about is Hayden Christensen, though, because I don't see where she ever met him, even though she is all the Jedi, or however you want to put it. I mean, there's definitely things that you could do with that, which so there's possibilities. I could see that. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of all that's here for it. I mean, obviously it just talks about the movie, her rebuilding the Jedi Order. So I can understand having the characters there for such a thing. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I'm assuming Andy's not back just yet. So yeah, we'll get his words on that maybe when he comes back in a couple minutes. But until then, let's move on to the next story. Um, I know there was an interview with Natalie Portman in GQ magazine recently, and they asked her if she was ever willing to go back into the Star Wars universe, and she said she was willing. She'd be open to the idea. Um, even or actually, her words were, um, "I have no information on this. No one has ever asked me to return, but I'm open to it." Um, I think it would be great to have her back. My only thing is, it gets back to that same point of it's been like 20 years now. um, she's clearly aged. I mean, and I don't. how do I put this best? It's not like she's old and anything. I mean, she's only in her 40s or whatever it is, but her character was a teenager at the time she was in the show. So I just get to that point where do you fit her in? At least if any of it. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. It's like I said, I would have no issue with her ever coming back. But if it's her to play the same character, what do you do? Actually, I didn't even think about the animation idea and that, and that could definitely work. Um, yeah, I mean, she could be anybody. She could even be herself, technically. If you wanted to go into some of maybe like things that happen between movies with her, that I mean, we know most of the Clone Wars stuff, but I mean, even if you want to go back to the time between like episodes 1 and 2, where I think that's a area where they really it would be kind of cool to see them go. Um, but I think there might be some good stories there as well. Um, but yeah, that's about all I really have to say on the issue. How about yourself? I gotcha. Okay, so considering you mentioned her and Taika Waititi, I found it's a good segue into the next story. Where apparently this past week, he did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter to promote his latest movie. It seems like he's doing looks like a some kind of sports movie. I didn't get the name of it, unfortunately. But while they were talking to him about it, they were asking him about his Star Wars movie, and he basically, when they asked him about his Star Wars movie, this is kind of what he came up with. Um, and I'll read it off. It says, "I've got a really good idea for it. It's just as with all films. It's this middle part. You're like, what's going to happen? And then you look at all of those films that are so great. You're like, well, I guess they can't meet with some smuggler with an alien sidekick." um, Basically, what he's kind of saying is he's got a really great idea for a Star Wars movie. He's having a little, but he's having a little trouble with the movie. He's having a little trouble writing it at the moment. It's like he's struggling with it basically, which I can understand. I mean, you get into some of these stories and you have a great idea for what you want to do, and you want to make a story as great as it could possibly be. You don't want to screw it up, especially when it comes to Star Wars. It's a lot of pressure. So for a guy, then take it with a guy that sits here and is currently writing, Jesus, what, 4 or 5 movies at a time, trying to act in them, direct them, produce them himself. the guy's got a lot on his plate. I'm not gonna hold him for that. But yeah, I just want him to sit there, take his time, make a good movie, man. I'm, well, that's the funny side of it, because I mean, according to this, he's also said he's also in talks to play a role in the film, which nobody's surprised. He likes to be an actor in his own movies, so I mean, if that works for you. But he's also directing this movie. He's producing the movie, um, and it's still up where he wants to start filming this thing next year. So, I mean, it's a lot to expect, but at the same time, we also know that this guy, when he's at his best, he's winning Academy Awards for what he does. So, I want that side of him working on this movie. Because, I mean, we've seen him make some really good movies along the way. So, I mean, I hope he gets his way through his little block, and I hope he actually works it out. No, no, not at all. So just to fill you in, all right. So just to fill you in quick, we were just talking about Taika Waititi. Apparently he did a story with Hollywood Reporter this week. He basically saying he's got a great idea for his Star Wars movie, but he's starting to struggle with the script a little bit for it. Um, yeah. So it's like I said. I mean, I want him to take his time. I don't want him to rush this. Because the most important thing that we've noticed is when he's on his game, when everything is clicking, everything is going right, he wins Academy Awards for the stuff he does. That's the guy I want writing this movie. Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get that he's got a plan for what he wants, and he wants to hit that plan. But if it ain't coming, we get it. It's okay. Just. It's like it's like I'm okay with him being Protocol Droid number 6 that's in the movie for 32 seconds too. So yeah. All right. So does anybody else want to throw anything else in on this, or all right? So let's move on to the next one. I okay. Yeah, absolutely. And we did tell people to take that one with a grain of salt, because fair enough. uh, Natalie Portman. Yeah. Of course. Okay, so that being said, let's move on to our next story. Apparently this week on the uh, Dagobah Dispatch podcast, which is Entertainment Weekly's podcast for Star Wars. They had Tony Gilroy, who is writing and the executive producer um for Andor, and they were talking to him about the show and how um basically how things have come along, and just asking about like building writing to build what the Rebel Alliance was, um building the Rebel Alliance to what it is that we know. And bear with me because I didn't really read through this story that well. um and one of the things he said here, like the expectations, responsibility that we have to the characters that we've set up, our responsibility to bring it home efficiently, but mostly it's to make it pay off emotionally and to stick the landing on this, because and that's understandable. Because obviously you have a show that's leading right directly into a movie that's leading right directly into not just any trilogy, but at the end of the day, the trilogy. So you kind of have to make sure that everything you're writing here is on point. Um, then let's see. He was also asked about how they'll form the rebellion up in season two. Um, he says one of the major themes in Andor is the theme of how they're not unified and how they have to come together and become the Rebel Alliance. Which even if you look at Rebels, we watched a very ununified alliance that slowly came together and was pretty much more uh, fairly close knit. Well, I don't know if it was close knit, but I mean about as good as it was going to get going into A New Hope. Um, but trying to see, he says it's like right here. It says the Rebel Alliance that emerges on Yavin is almost like the Christian Democrats. It's a consolidated, comprised group. What happened to the original gangsters, the hardcore people who built that road? What happened to them? and how do they integrate with the Rebel Alliance. That'll be a lot of what we're doing. And I could see that. I mean, because when we look at A New Hope, we look at a Rebel Alliance that is kind of good. Like we're fighting the evil empire. We're the good Rebel Alliance that we do everything the right way. And then we start watching Rogue One, and we start seeing the assassins and the spies and the espionage and all the little things that they had to do in the shadows in order to get themselves where they needed to be, and the ugly side of what you got to do to overthrow a government. So and it's kind of cool to see that side of it as well. So it's I think Gilroy's doing a great job building that world. Um, oh, yeah, we hear you fine. Absolutely. Say something again. Can you hear me now? Hey guys. Hey guys. Yeah, he's on. I have no audio, and I have no idea why. I don't know what's going on there.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
There it goes. Yeah, it was all set right, and say something.
Maybe when
Can you hear
you
him now,
left,
Wolf?
Andy, maybe something got changed.
Well, maybe. Like I don't know. I I just muted my microphone and my camera. I didn't turn it off or anything.
No, it's there, Wolf. Are we there now? You hear them?
Technical difficulties.
Everybody does them better than us. It's like I fix one thing and something else goes wrong.
I feel like the videos on the channel aren't going.
Yeah, I don't want to try to load it over here because when I had it or tried to load it before, that's when I was cutting out and stuff. So
Okay, I can see the green rings around our cameras on the Twitch channel now, so it looks like we're coming through, I hope. He says we can hear. He can hear now. So
Yeah, but I
Okay.
have a feeling that everything we've done up to this point, you guys haven't been heard at all.
oh really?
Which means we just,
Did this whole thing for
which just makes me feel terrible because, like I said, I thought I had fixed everything today.
Oh. Well, I guess we can only find out after.
Yeah, I am sorry, guys. I keep trying to fix everything. Wednesdays we're gonna get a good run here.
No big deal. It's just we're just talking Star Wars. 3 of us, man. Like it's no big deal, you know.
It's like, I mean, I'm loving the chats. Don't get me wrong. I'm 100% loving it, but I want the world to experience it too.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear ya.
Right.
Right. What was I saying?
So, anyways, back to the topic about Andor there and leading into the confirmation that it is in fact leading into
Into the movie, yeah, right.
the movie Rogue One. Cool in that article, like the wording makes me feel like we're definitely going to see like a good chunk of more stuff with Saw Gerrera, which is something that I've always thought is pretty interesting stuff for sure.
Well, they've been
And
adding
of
a lot
course,
more Saw Gerrera
great
stuff too.
great
Like,
actor too, of course, Forrest Whitaker,
yeah,
legend.
yeah. But there seem to be adding more Saw Gerrera stuff to other stuff too, right? So like they're kind of building the character around and other stuff as well, right? Which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot more of that. We'll definitely see K2SO. We'll definitely see how that whole thing happened with him. That'd be pretty cool.
Him being changed into a friend.
Yeah.
The question's gonna be, who else are they gonna bring in from the Rogue One series? Because I mean, I don't see Jyn Erso being there. I don't see, actually, I don't see any of the main guys. Like, obviously, Bodhi Rook was part of the Empire at that point. Maybe they show him.
No.
Well, I mean, they could actually show him and show
can't-
what made him decide to leave the Empire in the first place.
Yeah.
Could be Bodhi Rook could be in there, maybe.
Which, if you're gonna do that, I mean,
the-
it gives you a chance to have what's his name, Mads Mikkelsen possibly back in, because obviously he was working directly with him, so we could possibly see him in the series.
We could see Krennic. Imagine.
I could see that as well. I mean, because that would definitely, it would make sense for him to be
I think
there.
it would make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe something with the what's their characters there? The guys that were on protecting the wills.
Oh, and Sheridan Bays.
Yeah, I wonder if they like have a quick segment
Temple.
with them, maybe like
Gaze and Fruit, you mean?
yeah.
I don't think they should be in it because in Rogue One, basically, like that's his introduction to those characters, I believe.
Yeah, and it felt like an introduction too. So I don't know if I'd want to see them. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like, if they're off doing their whatever, protecting that Kyber crystal, whatever it is, chances of him seeing them would be pretty unlikely, I would say.
Yeah. I guess.
But a few of those characters I would love to see, and I think would actually make sense to see them.
I would say we would see more maybe on the Empire side, maybe as opposed to the rogue group that we saw in Rogue One. Maybe we like you said, like Krennic, Galen Erso, maybe a younger Galen Erso. I don't know, like possibly. I know that I don't figure that they would like focus a bunch of story around them, but maybe it's just like
kind of cool to see.
Maybe it's just like a brief mention name pops up, or you see him briefly, or you know what I mean, like stuff like that.
Well, like I said, if you're gonna do like the Bodhi Rook story, it's like if I remember correctly, Galen Urso sent him to Saw Gerrera.
Right.
So if you're in like that last 3 episode block and they just show a segment with him, and even if it's just like a hollow picture of
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen, he's just saying, seek out Saw Gerrera.
I can see most of, like, if we're gonna see stuff like that, it probably will be in the last block of that show.
Yeah.
Like the last whatever, like just like mentions here or a brief like interaction here, or, you know what I mean? Like that would be okay.
I mean, obviously we'll see Mon Mothma, more of her.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if we saw.
Of course.
It wouldn't surprise me if we had maybe Jimmy Smits back there as why Bail Organa. Why that name just slipped my mind, I don't know.
Bail?
I mean, I could definitely see like him showing up out of nowhere, because obviously he was one of the people that helped with the Rebel Alliance to begin with.
Yeah.
I
feel like it'd be cool if they had some degree of Admiral Akbar. I think that would be an interesting thing to see, because he has a pretty amazing story himself too.
It is possible to see Akbar around that time period. Be nice to see Radis again, possibly, for some reason. I mean, given we're throwing a lot of characters out here, but
of course, yeah.
But at the same time, I mean,
yeah,
it's part of the universe that we're getting to that point where you might need to see it. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, even if you go looking into the Rebels catalog of people, seeing an Ahsoka Tano, even, or hearing her voice, even if it's just under the Fulcrum logo that they used to do as they're trying to relay a message or something, that wouldn't surprise me. Even Kallus, once he takes over as Fulcrum, maybe have him in the later episodes doing that.
Yeah.
So there's potential for different characters that I wouldn't have a problem seeing here, just because I think they would fit into the role.
Because I mean, they already did it with Rogue One, like, right? Brought in the Ghost and had Captain Syndulla over the thing, and you saw Chopper, right? So
yeah.
So I mean, it's possible for sure.
Yeah, and even Tarkin.
Oh yeah.
I could see Tarkin.
Tarkin as well.
I can see Tarkin, there's a small part of me that I don't know if I want to necessarily see Tarkin. I feel like this may not be big enough that Tarkin needed to walk into it just yet. Whereas Krennic, I think Krennic would be perfect in this situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because like I think like you get to Krennic and then suddenly something goes wrong, and now we have to bring Tarkin in.
You gotta deal with Tarkin.
And that's where it happens in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
But just my opinion on it.
Yeah. I get out of all of those names, I can see Krennic being probably the more one, that possibility that'll be in that, you know, a brief in that show. It would, I don't know.
The most logical.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe. I mean, we've already seen Saw in season 1, so it's already probably
so we
guaranteed that we're going to see him in the second season. Like, you know, we're going to see Mon Mothma. Obviously, I can see Bail Organa probably making an appearance for sure. Like, you know, that would make sense. But I think we're reaching on some of them for sure. But I mean, it'd be nice to see, you know, anybody.
Oh, I mean,
as long as it plays well with the story, you know what I mean? If they just start bringing in things because I don't see Tony Gilroy doing that. Like, with the success he had the first season, it's gonna be done well, I think.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I don't see him doing a lot of it, but at the same time, some of it might. I only want it to happen where it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think a couple of the characters, it doesn't have to be a whole episode devoted to them. Like I said, it could just be a 5-second hollow picture saying something where it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that would work. Like the Ahsoka Tano thing. I don't necessarily need to see her.
Yeah.
Just bring up the Fulcrum logo and Fulcrum here, and you can tell it's Rosario Dawson's voice.
Have her voice, yeah.
And she's relaying a message. That's good enough for me. I know what's going on.
And I mean, like,
I don't
it would.
think they would have the voice though, just because when they were doing the Fulcrum thing, they did have disguised voices, right?
Right, yeah.
Because I think at one point they even still thought it was Ahsoka when it was
Alice.
Callus. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I just think that it could be done. There's ways they could do it to make it done well.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So anything else you guys want to throw in on that one, or
No.
With
Oh.
K2, I would definitely like to see them like not just do a nod, like have the actual story of how that happened, because that'd be
I think they will.
it's
I
a
think it's
fan
too big
favorite.
of a
It's a fan
character.
favorite.
I think he's too big of a character from Rogue One to leave that out. I believe it's going to be 1 or 2 episodes in a block for sure. I think.
yeah,
I'm gonna guarantee
I
that.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I think you have to.
And bringing that like yeah.
Yeah, to me, you have to show how these two come together, and it's not something that
It's
is-
not a just a boom and they're together. No, it's got a story
Yeah.
to it for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm expecting that earlier in the season than anything. Also, I mean, I would expect
Yeah.
these two to be together at least for a couple of years.
Yeah, I would like to see more of that awesome personality of K2SO. Hilarious.
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job with the character.
Oh
so.
yeah.
So good.
Okay, so take this to our last story here, which is I don't know if you guys had seen over the last couple of days, but Empire Magazine over in Great Britain, who they're pretty good entertainment magazine when it comes to bringing just about everything. But they have their big Ahsoka issue out, and they have like special covers, and they were showing off all the extra covers that they had for the magazine yesterday. And part of it was they also did an interview with Dave Filoni, and they were talking about obviously the Ahsoka show, and they were saying like how he wrote the entire series. He's also directed multiple episodes of the series, and they were asking him about pretty much about her journey through all of this. And one of the things that he says is this: she's a wanderer at this point, and is in a lot of ways wary of the organization as such because of the power that comes with it as a group. She walks a path that basically died out a long time ago, and there aren't many like her left, if any. So that's a lonely thing. What is that life like? If you're a loner, you have a very small circle of friends. What is it like then when you try to open back up? And I could see that. I mean, you could see that she pretty much moves around a lot. Obviously, she knows what's going on in the galaxy, because I mean, she knows who she's going after. She knows where she's got to go to get there. I think obviously this is Filoni, so he knows what he's doing with it.
Yeah.
But they also let's see. There's also been much talk about Ahsoka, how Ahsoka might be difficult to jump into for people who are not familiar with her journey in animation, particularly for people who have not watched Star Wars Rebels. I would also say Clone Wars, but anyway. After all, and despite Filoni insisting this isn't necessarily the case, the new show is essentially a 5th season of Rebels. And then they asked him about the big challenges of writing this show, and Filoni basically said the biggest challenge was there's a whole bunch of audience that know her and a whole bunch that don't. She has one foot in Star Wars that a lot of people know because of her connection to Anakin, and yet she's all new and can go in her own direction, in her own way. I think that makes her an interesting bridge between what came before and what's really possible. Totally agree with that. I mean, because, yeah, there are people that only know the movies. They have no idea who this character is, and yet anybody who's watched any of the animation or has kept up with everything, they know exactly who this character is, and she's been an extremely well developed character.
Definitely. Like Ahsoka is Filoni's baby. Like he said that. Everybody knows that, right? That's his creation. We've seen, like, for us, I mean, we've all watched Rebels and Clone Wars. We know the journey. We know this is going to be, I think it's going to be such a great show. Like, we already know, coming off Rebels, the whole arc there. It's going to be great. I'm excited. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know
Yeah,
what.
it's pretty,
Hello.
it's
Sorry.
pretty our Star Wars fans that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there is a big bridge between the world of people who have seen the Star Wars movies and are big Star Wars fans, but have never really met Ahsoka. Maybe a little bit if they've dabbled into the newest season of Clone Wars, which I know some people did, even if they haven't seen the rest of Clone Wars, and then also in The Mandalorian and stuff. So she did have a, more of a bigger screen introduction that way. But then there's also the exact opposite where people are like, you could have, I see it on somebody's car, just I can't even think of what they're called, the hair thing that her species has. You know what I'm talking about?
The Leku.
Yeah, that thing. So just that as a decal on somebody's car, and then, if you're a big enough fan, you know exactly what that is. So yeah, big difference
Yeah, the Leku.
between the two separate audiences for sure.
I feel bad because we kind of lost you partway through that. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one thing you'll know somebody who's just watched the movies, and you'll know somebody who's delved deeper into the universe between that. But I don't have any doubt that Filoni's gonna make this great. I think anybody who goes in and watches this, whether you know who she is or don't, you're gonna probably come out of this liking the show. Then again, yeah, there might be some people that don't. I can't speak to that. But that being said, no matter what, I think most people, if you don't know her already, you're going to be curious to go back and take a look and say, who is this character anyway? I hope it brings people back to start watching the Clone Wars, to start watching Rebels, to start watching through the Mandoverse just to see what she pops up there. Because it's a good character. And even though you don't see her in the movies and you don't hear a lot about her, outside of that, if you've never really delved into a lot of this stuff, you're missing out on some good Star Wars by not going into the stories there.
So with that being said, I think at some point, either the next podcast that we do or the one after that, I think we should find that list of the Ahsoka episodes that people need to watch. And I think we need to let people know that these are the ones you got to watch specifically if you want to know more about her character, I guess.
And,
The important episodes, you know what I mean? I know there's a couple lists out on the interwebs.
I agree with you because
have you done it yet, Eldor?
I haven't started going through my watch. No. But
Me neither.
But that being said, we're only a couple months away. I mean,
I got 3 on the top of my head. Okay, Tales of the Jedi, Episode 1, Episode 3, and Episode 5, something like that.
I think those definitely have to be on the list.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's about it. That's about all I got to contribute.
I mean, obviously, going into Rebels, going into the Clone Wars. I'm not going to make anybody watch that Clone Wars movie, though. That's just too much.
No, they say Rebels season 4 for sure. Like all of season 4 is probably a good one because she's in that. And there's
Is that the one where she encounters Vader and stuff at the end or near the end?
No, that's actually
that's in season 2.
Yeah,
season 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty important event, right?
It's an important event. I'm just not sure. Like, it's a great episode, obviously, and that whole arc going into that. I'm not sure if it ties in because it's not part of the Thrawn story. That's the only thing that I
That's
feel
true.
that.
But as far as
I think it ties in strong if you want to know more about her, though.
I mean, as a character arc, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in the show they have to have some degree of that owl, right? Or some sort of nod to that place between places or whatever it's called, world between worlds or whatever.
Worlds, yeah.
Well, the owl
World
comes
Between
from
Worlds.
the Mortis arc, and that would definitely be in my list of things that you need to watch if you want to watch. If you want to watch anything about
the Mortis arc
about her, because that owl almost defines her in a sense, and it hovers over her everywhere. You'll see it everywhere. I would be very shocked if Looney dropped the ball and we didn't see that owl somewhere in the Ahsoka show coming up.
Right. Yeah.
So
For sure.
So yeah, it needs to be there. I think that's definitely one of the things, but let's not get too deep into that because that's another episode.
Yeah, I think when we do that podcast or that episode, I think we should.
Sure,
yeah, we're going to be probably just talking about the episodes, that whole episode of that whole podcast. So yeah, it's a whole conversation.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot to discuss for that, so I think that's going to work out great.
Yep.
But that being said, I know they're still saying tentative date is August 31st, but they didn't even confirm that in this story, so
I don't think there's any. Yeah, I don't think there's a legit confirmation yet on that, but we definitely know August.
Yeah, they did state they're still pushing for August, so I'm looking forward to it. That's all I got. That being said, that's the end of the news, but one thing I did catch today that I did want to bring up really quick was there was the podcast that we talked about that Tony Gilroy was on.
Right.
The Dagobah Dispatch. Apparently a couple weeks ago they did an episode of it where they had Kathleen Kennedy on. And unfortunately I missed that. But I was able to listen to a little bit of it today. They only had her on for about 10 minutes. It was a pretty short interview.
Right.
So there wasn't a great deal to pick up there, but there were a couple things of note that were there to pick up on. And the most important two things that I picked up off of the interview was... Well, actually, I'll say three. Number one, when they were talking about the Rey movie, she made it sound like we're pushing to get more people from the sequel trilogy back. So I don't know who's gonna make it. I know they're trying to get people in. So hopefully they succeed. Hopefully, like I said, whoever's and the guy from Peaky Blinders that's writing it, I don't remember his name. Um, I hope he can pull the story. Stephen I hope he can pull the story together, and I hope it's as good a story as it can be. Number 2, which was the nice one that I really was happy to see. Skrull is back. They were asking her about if they were going to ever bring back, if they were going to have the Skrull in this movie, because now that technically Rey is a Skywalker, would this be a continuation of the Skywalker saga? To which Kathleen Kennedy's answer was, don't worry, the Skrull is back. The Skrull is for movies. Which gave me the impression that from this point forward, whenever there's a movie, we're getting a Skrull. Which it's the one thing about Star Wars that I've come to love and expect, and I hope that that's the truth.
Right.
Outside of that, the last thing that was brought up was the High Republic. And obviously we're getting the Acolyte, which, while it's part of the High Republic, it's not really necessarily based off of any of the stories that we've gotten already through the books, comic books, etc., etc. But she did seem to push the idea that it might be time to start pushing into that area a little bit. So once it seems like we might start getting another TV show, we might start looking at a movie or two in that time period. I don't know how to. I don't
That'd
know.
be pretty awesome.
It will be nice because it'll be different. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know 100% how I feel about it yet because I really haven't delved into it yet. I've only read the first part of the first book, and I just haven't had time to continue it. But I do want to get in and start reading some of those stories. So
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. So.
nah, I've heard a little bit of each. I've heard some good things. I've heard some not so good things. Obviously, I want to read it for myself to have my own judgment on it. But yeah, I mean, we're going into a completely different period. I want to know it's Star Wars. I want to know what's happening. So, but I kind of went long-winded there. But any thoughts from you guys?
I'm gonna go back to the your first thing about them trying to get more of the sequel characters in or whatever it is. I don't know if I like that, to be honest. Like just the way that the sequels were kind of what's the word?
Like there's too much disconnect where they were rushing it and stuff.
Well, it's
Maybe. Is that what you're talking
the
about?
reactions from the movies, like the response, like it just I don't know, like I don't see bringing back a bunch of characters from this as a good idea. I don't see, like why not just leave it as Rey and Finn, and they're just starting off with these new characters and just leave it like that. Like I think that is a good formula. You know what I mean? Like if you start bringing back all these characters, like let's bring back all
Rose
these,
or
I don't know, like yeah, Poe, yeah, that's his name, Poe. I couldn't even remember his name. Like let's bring back Poe and
Zori.
Zori, let's bring back blah blah blah. You're like, I don't know, man. Like then it just starts feeling more like they're just trying to like revamp what they did with the sequel. I know they're not, but I don't know. Like I wasn't. I don't. I wouldn't like it, but that's just me.
I think it depends on the characters and what you're doing with them. Like Wolf has said in chat, he's fine with Poe, Finn, and Ray. I think I'm fine with the three of them.
Yeah, but they're
Because-
not going to focus. They're not going to focus on them. It's not.
Well-
it's not a story about them again either.
Well,
like
But that's the thing. I understand it's not a story about them, but world building. Obviously, Ray and Finn would have to be almost big part of the story, because I mean, Ray's gonna probably be the Jedi Master. At that point, I could see Finn as somebody who maybe just became a Jedi Master. I mean, 15 years of training. Maybe he's a prominent Jedi Knight now. Who knows? Keep in mind, while I didn't love a lot of the sequel trilogy, Poe was being groomed to become the next leader of the Resistance.
Yeah.
And I could see at this point, 15 years in the future, maybe Poe is the new chancellor of the new republic. However they're gonna define it at that point.
yeah,
And-
new.
So
The newest republic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So at that point, I could understand him being in the story. I could understand if there was a segment where he was in it, and maybe he needed to be, maybe they needed to talk to him about a threat coming or something like that. It fits. Obviously, I don't think you need to bring everyone back. I mean, obviously, I don't see a point where Lando Calrissian fits into this. He technically should be dead by this
He's
point.
probably dead at that point.
Yeah.
15 years
yeah.
later,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he could barely move in the third movie. Like
I mean, I don't see.
Babu. I would love to see Babu again.
I mean, you could possibly bring in something. You could bring in something that would allow him to come back in for a minute or two. I wouldn't have a problem with it.
now, are we gonna see C-3PO and R2-D2? What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
I would. That brings me to another thing. BB-8. I could see BB-8 in this movie.
BB-8 could
I think
be
it's-
around. I could
yeah,
see
BB-8.
that. Yes.
Um,
yeah.
And again, I mean, BB-8 belongs to Poe. So we go to see Poe.
Yeah.
Suddenly, BB-8 comes rolling in the
BB-8's there.
room.
Yeah, I can see that.
Everybody
I
has their
can
little
see that.
reunion. So I could see
I
that.
get it. I get it.
Yeah, one thing for me that's a little bit concerning with it is like we already know that they had the writer leave and they were unhappy. Well, maybe they were unhappy with something. Who knows the full story of what happened there? And then now they're talking about, oh, we're trying to get other characters to come back. It's like how weak is your story that you need to lean on bringing back more characters? Like you've already hired 2 writers. Let's get it going here.
Well, it sounds like the Boba Fett thing. Like it sounds like what happened with Boba Fett. Like they had something, then it like fell flat. Oh, let's bring in Mandalorian and all the characters in to try to like
Yeah.
finish this off and blah blah blah. Like that's what it feels like.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
I guess I could play devil's advocate on this one and be maybe he wrote the story to include nothing extra, and at that point they were like, well, look, I mean, we've got to add something extra to it. We've got to bring at least a little bit in from the sequel trilogy. Given I'm probably more leaning towards your idea, but but it could have worked out that way as well. But that being said, like I said, as long as it's the right characters, I don't mind.
Yeah.
You start bringing everyone back, I'm gonna start worrying.
Well, that's what worries. Yeah. Like when Kathleen Kennedy says, "Oh, we're gonna try to bring as many back as we can." I'm like, well, let's not. Like, how about we just bring back the ones that fit in the story, not just make it a big fanfare, like
Yeah.
of characters that are just gonna pop up. You know,
It's like, as much as I love Chewbacca, I just don't see where he fits in the story anymore.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, exactly. Like 15 years. You know, Han's been dead for, I don't know. What's the gap? What's the gap between Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker?
What, 2 weeks?
like 2 weeks. Like, is
I
it?
mean, honestly, it's probably
like
it's
it, I
probably
guess,
more,
but-
but
Yeah, I think it is kind of right after to some degree.
I mean, my thing is that was another part of my issue with the sequel trilogy was it felt like no time passed between any of these movies.
Well, especially between the first and the second one. Like, I don't know between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, but
And even then, it felt like maybe 6 months, if anything.
yeah,
It's like I feel like all this happened in the same year. Whereas at least with with the prequel trilogy, you knew there were 10 years between episodes 1 and 2. You
right.
knew there was a couple years
Yeah.
between episodes 2 and 3. You go into the original trilogy, you know a good 3 to 4 years passed between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Same amount of time between Empire
Yeah.
Strikes Back and the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing like later in life rewatching those movies is I never realized how short of a time frame the actual films happen in. Like the A New Hope, I'm pretty sure it all happens in one afternoon or like 2 days or something. I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
never really noticed that until rewatched and kind of put it into perspective. Like
It's
it
like
all
an
happens pretty
afternoon,
quick.
afternoon going
Yeah,
into
one
an
minute.
evening.
Yeah, one minute he's like, with Owen there buying the R2D2 or whatever, and then next thing you know, he's blowing up the Death Star. It's like it's pretty quick. It's
It's like
pretty
within
quick.
it's like a weekend. Like a whole weekend
Yeah,
has passed. Like,
yeah. Um, one thing I think they could do as far as Chewbacca, because I know you guys said you wouldn't necessarily like to see it, but I thought of a cool idea. So, like, my favorite part with Chewbacca in the sequels is when he's on the ship, and there's like this medic, and she's like, "Oh, you must be so brave," and he's like, "Rrr," like telling a story and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that'd be really awesome if they were like, say, strolling through a town, and then it just shows like some hut, and like Chewbacca is shacked up with that nurse, and they just like wave or something.
All right. Okay, don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to see Chewbacca. It's
Yeah.
not that I wouldn't like to see Chewbacca. Yeah, it would have to be, it would have to fit, you know. I mean, like it does seem like he has become partners with Rey. Maybe he sticks around I don't see him sticking around the Jedi Temple. I guess like maybe he goes back home to Kashyyyk. I don't know. Like, who
Yeah,
knows?
that's what I see. I'd see his life that is done with Han at this point.
Right, right.
Leia's gone. At that point, what's left? I mean,
Luke's gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like the original, the OG squad's pretty much gone. Like,
yeah, at this point, what does he do? It's like, yeah, okay, I've served my purpose here.
right.
It's time to go home.
Or maybe he's a pilot in the new Republic,
The
newest
newest of republics.
Republic.
Uh,
But, yeah, like I said, I mean, as long as it fits, that's all I care. Just don't give me crap. or stuff that I'm gonna see right through right away.
yeah. As far as the scroll, I love it. Bring it back. Bring it back 180,000%, please. That's what makes a Star Wars movie. That's what makes you feel like you're in a different like and then the scroll, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm somewhere else. Like,
It's like I kind of know what's happening going in. I feel it's like it just feels like Star Wars at that point.
yeah, you get a
Yeah,
little
it's like you're
gist of the
being
story going into it, a little synopsis, you know, like
yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, right on, what's happening? Like,
Yeah, it's like you're being transported into another realm,
right,
into a
right,
galaxy far,
yep,
far away.
Yeah.
taking the elevator to space and taking the elevator to
Oh,
Star Wars, and yeah,
It's like I could tell you. I mean, I love Rogue One,
yeah.
but without the scroll, it took me a few minutes to get into it. It's like whereas if that scroll was there and we kind of knew what was going on building into it, I probably would have been right there from the get and ready to go.
Yeah, and if you think about it, that kind of would have limited them with how Andor would have to play out based on, what it would say on that scroll, the hypothetical scroll.
I wouldn't want a scroll for Andor. I mean, again, I love the way she put it. It's for movies. I don't want to see it on the TV shows. Not everything needs to have it.
Right.
But,
yeah.
I mean, part of me kind of almost like the way they did it for Clone Wars. Where you'd almost get that little caption before every episode.
Well, it did it for every episode. Like the Clone Wars. And you're just, it was just like,
Yeah,
oh,
those ones, it would just say something like "knowledge is wisdom" or something like
I
that.
love that.
Yeah,
And
and
it was just a specific quote every. I loved it, man. It was like, that was great.
Then you would get that
The
one
Future
one
State.
voice. War on Umbara.
Well, it was like one of the admirals. It was like one of the admirals
Yeah.
from the fleet or whatever. I think it was Anakin's admiral or whatever it was. Like,
Yeah, I think it was. I can't think of his name.
can't remember his
either.
name, but yeah, I think it was the guy that was on Anakin's Yularen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yularen, that's
Admiral
it.
Yularen. Thanks, Wolf. Yeah, Yularen. Yeah, that's right.
Wolf knows.
Wolf knows. Yeah.
I always thought that was a fun way to bring in the episode too. So
I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing, like Clone Wars, and then just a little quote, and then a little intro instead of
Yeah.
it was kind of like a scroll, but they were just, it was just being
Voiced.
verbally said, voiced out instead of scrolling
Yeah.
out pretty
Yeah.
much. Like it was
True,
a
true.
different take on it, but it was
It's
still
a-
pretty kind of the
it's
same thing.
It's a more digestible for a younger audience.
Right. Yeah. They don't have to read, they just listen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
yeah, like I said, it doesn't need to be there for everything, but I want it there from all movies. And was there anything anybody had to say on the?
What was the last thing?
They're talking about bringing in more High Republic.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I s-
Basically, I've heard good things, and I would love to see what it's all about. Especially like I remember we had some. I don't know if it was a trailer or what it was, but it was like a theme song for some sort of High Republic movie or show or something that was supposed to come out that never did, and I had those Mongolian
that was-
musicians.
that was the Eclipse trailer you were talking about before.
Oh, that was the Eclipse. Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, that song got me really hyped. It was a good song.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a good-looking trailer. We've just heard nothing about that game since, so I would love to know more. Hopefully, they'll be giving us more information sometime over the summer or whenever. But if they want to use, I mean, that would be a good bridge to start bringing in some of that High Republic stuff, because the reception to that was actually very good. People were actually excited by that trailer, so build on it.
I think in general the High Republic stuff has been very very positive. I think, especially with all the the books and the comics and all that stuff, and it just feels like it's going in the right direction. Again, I think we need to see. We're gonna start seeing some live action stuff, and I'm all for it because I just want more Star Wars. I don't care. Like, just bring on stuff, bring on new stuff. From what we saw with Andor, because remember with Andor, we're all like, oh, this could be different because it's not, it's not Skywalker story. It's being told differently. It's blah blah blah, and then they just like hit it out of the park. So I mean, I'm
Well,
just excited to see more new stuff. Like, come on.
I mean, I completely agree with you, because before that first trailer hit, we were all like, we don't know what to expect.
Like, why do we want to watch Andor? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what
It's
is
like-
this?
It's like we
Yeah.
barely know this character. Why do we need a TV show about him? And then the trailer came out. I was like, okay, maybe this is
And we're
gonna be
just
pretty
like-
good after all.
Jaws closed, please.
Yeah. and yeah, like you said, I mean, it was my idea. My eyes definitely out of the park. So yeah, I can't wait to see more, and hope they can shock me like that more often.
I mean, I know not everybody's the
There is
same.
one thing.
Swamp.
You're there.
Hello, Swamp.
There
Uh-oh.
is one thing that's apparently. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you
Hey,
hear me?
there you are.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you're
Hello?
back now.
Hello? Can you hear me? All
There
right.
you go.
So, one thing that is a bit concerning with the High Republic is I did hear it kind of in the books and stuff. Some of the characters kind of go in the Bud Light direction, so to say, and I hope that that is a smart business choice.
Well,
I'm sorry. What's the Bud Light thing?
Um, just like supporting inclusion.
I don't think I care so much about that,
No,
as
I don't
long
either, but
as
I do know how it affected Bud Light as well as other companies, Target and things like that, who
Okay.
are attempting those type of marketing strategies, and I hope that hope that that's
I,
not I hope that Star Wars doesn't face any consequences for something so silly or arbitrary or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I would say is I don't care if that's where your character comes from, or if that's who they are. Just don't let it get in the way of the story. It's like if how do I say it best? I just think as long as don't press. It's like when it comes to Star Wars, I want to get away from the world. I want to go into the Star Wars universe and enjoy the universe and what's going on. Don't don't knock me out of my immersion because you have to push an agenda.
Yeah, I don't want a political
Yeah, I agree.
agenda from our world being in that world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Doesn't make
I do this to escape from that world. Don't
Yeah,
force
exactly.
it back on me.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, that's
it doesn't mean I
that's
don't
one area
agree.
that does concern me a little bit. Just hearing that that is part of how those stories go. Hopefully, that's not something that interferes with the fantasy of Star Wars.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's like I want my escape. Just tell me how I escape.
Agreed. Agreed to agree.
Okay. I think we've covered all the news for this week.
Is that it? I think so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of things came up at the end of this week, so it was kind of
I know.
nice.
It just
I
kept
mean,
popping up.
yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about this week. That's gonna lead us back into chapter 2 of our Versus series. And Mr. Beads, I'll let you take it away.
All right. So the end of the last podcast. If you guys weren't around for the first one, we had a Count Dooku versus Mace Windu. It's a new series that we're doing on our Twitter page, and revealing our answers during our podcast and stuff. But we want you guys to be a part of this as well. So you guys need to follow us on Twitter, and you guys need to comment, share it.
Yeah, make sure you guys get over there. We need to hear from you guys because although
wanna
these
share.
battles are super epic when we're giving our opinions, we want to hear your opinions too.
We do. We're super. We want to include all of the viewers and all of the followers on our channels and stuff. So if you haven't followed the Twitter page, please do so. What is it again? I follow it. I swear.
If it's, I know it's popped up a couple times in the chat. If you're here on Twitch with us right now live, if you look right underneath it, the Twitter link is right there, along with our link for our YouTube channel if you want to go and watch some of the old episodes. So definitely take a look at those. Go down and click on them, give us a follow, and we can, and you'll be able to follow when we're on, what we're doing, and even maybe catch some opinions of us along the way.
I think this will be in the bottom of the YouTube channel too, right?
It will be in the
description.
Correct.
Okay. So just follow us on the link to the Twitter page, please do. We would love it. Anyways, so what are we calling this?
This week's matchup.
Version is this? I don't know. Episode 2. No, what are we calling this? This week's versus? Is this versus number 2? I don't know. How are we calling this? Anyways,
chapter
Part
2.
Chapter 2. I don't know, man. It's still new. Okay. So this week's versus, we decided to go with. We wanted to see who would win versus Jango Fett or Din Djarin. So two Mandalorians battling each other. We've seen it in the series, but they're from two different eras, possibly two different ages of technology. So yeah. So what do you guys think? Who do you guys think would win? What are your guys' picks? What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, if I had to pick, I think Jango Fett would win this battle. I'm not saying it's like a blood or anything. I think it would be closer than it looks on paper. But I think at the end of the day, to me, Jango Fett, grew up a Mandalorian, obviously was strong enough that they recognized him and brought him in to be the prototype for the Republic clone army. So he had to have some skill there that they had to see in order to make that happen. If you even look at his side clone / son, Boba Fett, ends up being one of the baddest bounty hunters in the galaxy. So again, some skill had to be there. But yeah, his skills were immensely good. And I think it depends on which Din Djarin we're looking at. If we're looking at the one from the beginning of this series, I think he absolutely smokes early on Din Djarin, before he gets his Beskar armor and moves on. Don't get me wrong, Din Djarin, good Mandalorian fighter, but there's also a lot of things about him that I see that are just mistakes waiting to happen. Like, you can go through the episodes. He takes a lot of damage, man. He puts his body in the way. How many times has he had to take lucky shots on that Beskar armor to survive? I remember one time he walked out a door and he had just been shot in the head, and if it wasn't for the fact that it was a Beskar helmet, he would have been dead right there. I think Jango, extremely good, extremely accurate. It's not much of the more I talk, the more I realize, it's not much of a fight. I think I think Jango Fett just wins.
You've made the point. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was gonna make it close, but I can't do it.
What say you, Swamp? Did he freeze on us? Swamp, you frozen?
I think he did freeze on us. I think we lost him.
Oh no.
Well, what are you thinking? Hopefully we'll get him back in time.
Well, I am like 100% Jango Fett. I feel that experience, I think Django's been around. Had more experience at the time. I think the two different fighting skills, where Din Djarin's more, you know, uh, closer combat, it seems, then Django Fett is more strategic and possibly maybe more skilled with the Mandalorian weaponry that he had. I just think it's I to me it's an to me I feel it's a no brainer. Like he was a somewhat of a a threat to Jedi as well back in the era, right? So um, minus Wolfman pointed out, minus Mace Windu, obviously. You know, but
I think he could
not,
take
not
Mace
many not
Windu
many
if
could
he
match up
didn't.
to Mace Windu, anyways. So
I think he could take Mace Windu. Hot take, hot take. Because
well,
it's a
something was taken from him though.
well, the thing is, in that situation, it was kind of like Han Solo beating Boba Fett, right? Something led to that. That was somebody deflected blaster
Yeah,
fire.
yeah,
It
the
hit his
jetpack.
jetpack, and then he's like
Yeah,
looking back at his jetpack,
Almost.
and that's why he got if it was one on one. Never know. Am I dropping again? Can you
you
hear me?
were. Yeah, you were.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you now.
Okay, sweet, sweet. Yeah, my connection fully dropped there for a minute, so that sucked.
But
um,
I get
but
what
yeah,
you're saying. Yeah.
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 I
But
mean, I
yeah,
still think it was
Andy,
only been a
I
matter
don't
of
know where we are.
time.
Did you guys already get your choices in?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, like it's a very, very even battle. You got two very skilled fighters. Din Djarin, I think, has the advantage when it comes to discipline and uh like persistence, fight till his last breath. But what it really comes down to is battle experience. I think Django has a lot more. He probably has seen a lot more combat. He's older than Din as we know him so far. Maybe towards the end of the story, the Din story, maybe one day down the line, my opinion on this could change. But yeah, for now, I would also agree that Jango Fett has the not a huge edge, like Eldor was saying. I think it'd be a really good fight. They're both really skilled Mandalorians. They're both warriors. It would be a very epic battle. But yeah, I think Django has that edge from experience.
I think you see, like, if you watch, like, when we were watching Bo Katan and Axe Woves fight there, I would say Django's style is more of that style fighting, where he uses more of the
The
jetpack
jetpack.
and the technology that the Mandalorians have to kind of like assist with the battling or the fight or whatever it is. And whereas Din Djarin didn't really have a jetpack in the first in the like he didn't really
Yeah,
have a jetpack until the end of season 1, right? So he kind of
yeah.
had to
He
go
learned how
with
to use it.
he had to learn how to use that, right? So he
Mm.
kind of went along. So his I find the fighting styles are a little bit different. Obviously, like it's his is more like close combat, more taking more brunt and using his armor to kind of like help with beating his opponent down or whatever it is. But uh,
Another thing, I don't know if you guys mentioned this while I was you know, dropping in stuff. Yeah, Django doesn't play by the rules. He's not beyond like poisoning you straight up to your face. Like, he of course has more of a sense of honor where he likely wouldn't stoop to that level or even think that Django would stoop to that level.
mm, yeah, Yeah.
It's like not something I brought up, but now that you mention it,
Yeah. Yeah, because he was the one who hired Zam to go poison Padme Amidala, right? So
Yeah.
we know he's dirty like that.
So now I feel like let's say both of them didn't have a jetpack. Django doesn't have a jetpack. Din Djarin doesn't have a jetpack. I think the combat would be a little bit closer when it comes to that, because if you know, like when he gets killed by Mace, obviously, you know, jetpack gets destroyed, he gets trampled by the Reek, like, and then, you know, whatever, like he's all whatever. But when he's fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, he's got his jetpack, he's kind of like, you know, he's kind of keeping up with him. I mean, they're each getting their butt kicked, but I think he's able to fend off Obi-Wan a little bit better than when he doesn't have a jetpack, you know what I mean? So I think if either one didn't have, I think it'd be a closer fight if they didn't have
Yeah.
jetpacks. But I think Django wins because of the jetpack and the style and kind of more experience with that technology.
Yeah, I think both of them, if they don't have a jetpack, easily get decapitated by a Jedi.
Well, yeah. Does that did that happen?
there it is.
Yeah.
Good one. But yeah. I
But
think
yeah,
we're
do-
all in sync, right? Django Fett is the winner here.
Yeah, I believe so.
hear what you guys, make sure you guys go on Twitter and give your opinions on the next one for sure, because we really want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, Wolf, we didn't hear you on Twitter. Wolf, we didn't hear you on Twitter, man.
Yeah.
So that being said, Andy,
And everybody else listening.
do we have any ideas for our next fight?
Well, I don't know. I was kind of trying to think about it beforehand. I haven't really thought about it. I was looking through some stuff. Maybe we can
I know we
kind of discuss it possibly quickly before we end
Discuss
it, or I don't know what you guys want to do, but
last
I believe we could definitely discuss it. Maybe Wolf has an idea of something he would like to see as far as the battle.
wait. We gotta wait for Swamp here. Swamp.
I think we lost him
I
there.
feel hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello?
there you are.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. All right, there we go. I could hear you guys, but yeah.
You were talking like a like what's one of a sloth, I think. It was like it was really slow. Like it was
Oh, really? Oh, that's funny.
What were you saying?
Oh, I don't even remember. Oh, I was saying Eldor had a really awesome idea last time. I don't fully remember what it was, but something to do with Sith. Palpatine, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, I gotta remember it.
Eldor deleted it, that's why, Wolfman says.
Yeah, lies.
It's all lies. I don't know. I was kind of like quickly looking at some stuff before we started, and I was like, well, what if we did like I don't know, a Cad Bane versus like Han Solo or something, or I don't know, or I don't know, man. Like I was trying to look, and I was like, well, I don't know. Do we want to do two Jedis versus each other, or do we want to do like dark side versus light side?
There's a lot of options.
There's so much options, but then like I don't want to do the obvious ones. I want to kind of make it sort of a little bit closer, because I mean I wouldn't go Anakin. Let's do Anakin Skywalker versus Quill from from the Mandalorian. You know what I mean? Like I want to make it
Versus
somewhat
Babu.
believable. You know, you know. Like, and I don't necessarily want to bring in like those kind of characters either. Like, I don't want to use Anakin. I don't want to use, like the stronger characters where
What
they
about
were
if
like
you
the
had
strongest
like
in the galaxy. Like,
I was just thinking of something is Anakin's apprentice versus Vader's apprentice. What would you guys
We're seeing like Ahsoka
think
versus Starkiller.
about that? A Star Killer and Ahsoka.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting
yeah, that could
idea.
be 2 apprentices.
They both are powerful.
Yeah, they are. All right, what do you guys think? Wolf, what do you think?
I mean, there's definitely something to that. But I can't find.
Ahsoka
I can't
versus
find
Stark.
mine.
I'm fine with it. Already got my answer. Well, can you go on Twitter when I post it, and then you can say it there? I think that's the best place to put it.
I
Because I
agree.
know you're following us on Twitter.
There you go. Called out.
Called out. Elder said that he didn't delete your thing, so it's a lie. Okay.
I don't delete tweets. It's not me.
It's not me. It's not me. So, anyways, I'll be posting that up after the show, guys. So once it's up there, if you haven't followed the Twitter channel, make sure to get over there and give us a follow. It's on our YouTube channel. When we post this video on YouTube, it'll be down below in the descriptions. Or if you're watching us here on Twitch, it's down below as well underneath the video feed. I guess we can spell it out, but it's kind of weird. At Shadow Call Pod. At Shadow Call Pod. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully someday I can fix it to what it should be, but until then.
I think
Don't
it's
you
fine
know
how
by
it
now
is.
all Elder does is lie? So did he lie this whole episode? Wow. Let me tell you.
Wow. Hot
Let
take.
me tell you. All right.
All right,
Anything else,
guys.
guys?
I think I'm covered with everything I want to go through. Swamp, you good for what you want? Swamp. We lose him again. Yeah, I think we lost him again. All right,
there he is.
Yeah. Hello.
There he is.
all right, Swamp. While we got you, while we got you here,
Hello.
Well, we got you.
hello there.
Hello. Yeah. I just wanted to say, I hope they do come out with a trailer for Skeleton Crew soon. And
Yeah.
yeah, other than that,
Mhm.
yeah, I think I'm good on everything I wanted to say.
All
If
right.
the world heard me or not, that might be another story.
We heard you this time.
They heard you now, so. But while we got you here, where can we find you, bud?
Twitch.tv/swampgrass420. I'm there Monday to Friday, 3 to 5 hours. Always on that grind. Come on down, hang out, talk about some games and Star Wars and some good stuff. So yeah, come on down.
Awesome. Andy, where can we find you, bud?
Twitch.tv/Andy_Beads. Mainly playing Marvel Snap mobile game. And I have set up my music stuff again to create music on Twitch now again. So I'm still trying to schedule maybe a day out of the week to do that. But going to be fun to do that. Hopefully people show up and hang out and do that stuff too. So, but yeah, Twitch is my main place to find me now.
All right, awesome. And I am, of course, Darth Eldor. Lately, more than anything, you probably see me here on this podcast every couple of weeks. But I'm trying to get myself back into the Twitch universe once life settles out a little bit more. But if you want, when I get back, I'll be at twitch.tv/Darth_Eldor. And yeah, until then, you can find me on Twitter. I try to talk about stuff here and there as different Star Wars things happens, and just have some fun. Love you too, Wolf.
Wolf's taking a shot at you.
I expect no less. All right, so thank you all for coming out to watch our ninth edition of the podcast. Hopefully, edition 10 will go off without a hitch. Because we see, hopefully, we won't have any technical difficulties this next time. And
Yeah.
and as always, may the force always be with you. Thanks, guys.